Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. We are back once again. Q is posting late in the day. So, Patriots, muster up, man your battle stations, and grab your muskets and your musket cleaner, your musket wipes, and let's get ready to go to war. We'll practice on the way. We'll get a little practice in along the way. No big deal. Grab your coffee, whatever it is you're drinking, fist bump your neighbor, and let's get pursued. Post 4323, 25 minutes after the hour of 9, we get a Twitter status to Sissy Q at One Big Sister on the Twitter. Congratulations on getting a shout out from Q, Sissy Q. And Sissy Q is referencing a couple of things. First of all, post 2501 from November 25th, 2018. That post is referencing post 2176, and that is from September 15th, 2018. But I want to start off with the tweet that Sissy Q is referencing also down below, which is to Catherine Herridge. Read, full executive order 13526, section 1.7. Oh no, cited Richard Grinnell letter to Mark Warner. In no case shall info continue to be maintained as classified or fail to be declassified to conceal violations of law or prevent embarrassment to a person, organization, or agency. So let's just have a look at that real quick. And here is page 1. This is from May 25th, addressed to the Honorable Mark R. Warner, and this is from Richard Grinnell, acting DNI. And I'm just going to read you the highlighted parts here, but the beginning is talking about writing in response to Mark Warner's letter. My declassification determination was made in the interest of full transparency and public accountability, given serious unanswered questions about the potential misuse of intelligence for partisan purposes following the 2016 election. Okay, so you can see that Catherine here has written in a little note, declassified those who sought to unmask. Not really sure what that other part says right there, but let's read the highlighted part. As you well know, the decision to declassify the names of individuals who sought to unmask the identity of General Flynn, and we saw that was Samantha Power, Joe Biden, etc., poses absolutely no risk of compromise of either sources or methods. Additionally, far from undermining the credibility of the intelligence community, the utmost transparency in this matter builds public trust and confidence in the community and ensures the IC will not conceal potential abuse behind unnecessary security classification. I appreciate your reference to Executive Order 13526. As you can see, she has that circled. I remind you that this order makes clear in section 1.7, I know that in no case shall information continue to be maintained or classified or fail to be declassified in order to conceal violations of law. Okay, so the next section here says this. I find it puzzling that your letter initially complains about the declassification of the identities of unmaskers, a declassification that posed no conceivable risk to sources or methods, only to then request the declassification of actual intelligence reports, cherry-picking certain documents for release while attacking the release of others that don't fit your political narrative is part of the problem the American people have with Washington, D.C. politicians. Indeed. And then here on the second page, you see the highlights from Executive Order 13526, which, by the way, if you add those numbers up, you get... I know. Section 1.7, in no case shall information be classified, continue to be maintained as classified, or fail to be declassified in order to conceal violations of law, or number 2, prevent embarrassment to a person, organization, or agency. And she's citing that section there. And then I'm just going to read you that last pink highlighted part, number 4, prevent or delay the release of information that does not require protection in the interest of the national security. Okay, so This executive order actually came from Obama himself, and how ironic that President Trump is actually using it to declassify the information. This very executive order shows that not only is it the president's responsibility, but it is his duty. So release them hounds. Q says these people are stupid.
Got a flashback of signs, yeah, take you back, yeah.
Taking you back to post 2176, where we first saw the mention of this executive order in September of 2018. But now I want to move you over to the other one that Sissy Q had posted, post 2501. This was from November of 2018, where we see it again right there at the top. Q goes on to talk about former AG Matthew Whitaker, who had released 4 documents that were classified as requested by the House and ordered by the President of the United States under this executive order likely. Then it goes on to talk about the advantages of releasing these docs either prior to or post scheduled testimony, where Q says if those testifying no select classified documents will become public, self-incrimination, how might that alter or change their testimony? Well, it'll change it a lot, right? If they know something's going to come out and prove them wrong, they might as well just go ahead and rat the friends out. DC has become rat infested. Now, I do think there's a second meaning there referencing remote access Trojans. You can look into that if you like. We've talked about it extensively, actually, in a couple of my episodes, but I do think there's 2 meanings there. Now, at the bottom of that post, we see again the reference to 13526, but I just want to read you these bottom lines here. We're talking about the UK and Australia. Do they stand with the US or only select divisions within the US? Will immediate actions be publicly taken within each country to reunify the bond that was once held prior to classified 9 or whatever classified 9 is? So it would seem that we are talking about something very specific here. And then we see the word koala in brackets. And I can't help but think that this is referencing Alexander Downer, who was just on Sky News Australia debating with George Papadopoulos about their infamous meeting at the Kensington Wine Room in London, where the two had met and it kind of had different stories depending on who you ask. One was saying that Papadopoulos was saying that the Russians had email dirt on Hillary, whereas Papadopoulos just felt like they were kind of unnecessarily digging. So you remember the story, but I can't help but think that maybe it was Downer who had met with Strzok and Page in McCabe in London. And if you remember these pictures back in February of 2019, we saw these pictures right here. And we suspected that at least a couple of them were Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. They are in London, and they were walking right up to the Corinthia Hotel in London. We also saw these pictures that were referencing the Britannia Hotel, and right nearby there is the Australian High Commission there in London, which would suggest that it could very well be possible that it was Downer that met with these guys. And I want to thank Mark at Awake in Australia, who made a reference to this pic that Q had also posted. If you notice, there is a red bag in between this guy's legs right here. He seems to be holding a koala. Well, this very well could be this right here from Britannia. I love London. There's the Paddington Bear right there. It looks like it could be that tote bag right there. So is this our reference to koala? Are we talking about Alexander Downer? Not really sure, but it seems very, very possible. Post 4324, 26 minutes after the hour of 9, we get a Twitter status to Lila Rose at Lila Grace Rose on Twitter, who says, breaking, multiple Planned Parenthood officials have admitted under oath to trafficking the body parts and organs of babies they slaughtered. These are criminal acts. And this is a pretty horrible story, but it's very important that we all know about this because this is real deal talk here. This is to liveaction.org, this link here from May 27, 2020. And this is an updated part of an ongoing story that we've actually talked about. An explosive new video from the Center for Medical Progress contradicts past claims from Planned Parenthood that the corporation never participated in the sale of aborted baby body parts, but merely donated them and was compensated for expenses. Okay, well, that sounds like selling. Featuring testimony from Planned Parenthood officials under oath in 2019, as well as documents from those officials' admissions. The video shows these executives and directors admitting to actually selling body parts, which is illegal. Okay, well, we talked about this at great length in this video right here entitled Boxes and Bodies. This was from September 20th, 2019. This is a story of a Dr. David DeLeiden, and he went on the attack, and there was some real damning video in here. As a matter of fact, I highly suggest suggest starting with this video to get the story, because it's really important to know. And looking at these executives and these directors admitting it, it was really, really hard to figure how this could be doctored. This seems like they were just straight up saying it. So please check that video out to get the whole story and to get the origin of what we're talking about right now. After CMP's undercover videos were released, Planned Parenthood retaliated with a bogus lawsuit, while its political allies in California pressed charges against David Daleiden and Sandra Merritt. They're the ones that made the video, the journalists who exposed Planned Parenthood's illegal behavior. Planned Parenthood publicly went on the attack, claiming the videos were doctored and heavily edited. Okay, well, if you watch my video that I just showed you right there, you'll see that that was not the case. An accusation that was disproven by forensic analyses, and claiming they never broke any laws regarding the trafficking of aborted body parts, but this newly released video shows otherwise. And that's this right here. And I'm not going to show you this because YouTube right now is on fire and I'm not interested in getting taken down. But here we go more into it. The video also disputes the argument that money received was nothing more than reimbursement for costs sustained by Planned Parenthood. Testimony revealed that payment was only made to Planned Parenthood if STEM Express was able to obtain usable body parts from one of its abortion centers, meaning Planned Parenthood deceived the public when it claimed it only collected reimbursement for employees' time and costs. While the law allows for reimbursements of specific costs when donating fetal organs, those reimbursements must meet specific guidelines. They must be fees associated with transportation, processing, and other such costs. Planned Parenthood did none of these things, yet they collected money when they provided STEM Express with marketable body parts. Okay, and we also talked about this at great length, entitled Infinite Chant Impossible Food, from the 5th of September 2019. And in this, we talk about the STEM Express story, and again about David Daleiden in that story and how they got caught trying to ship body parts through FedEx. So indeed, they were shipping this. Now, they weren't getting provided payment for this shipping or whatever. I have no idea how that all works out, but it ended up being a FedEx employee that caught them doing this, and that became a really big deal. Now, we also talk about the company called Impossible Food, who makes the Impossible Whopper and all these meatless products and their heme product and things like that. Amazing Polly did a great video on this as well, but it also talks about the close proximity between the Impossible Food locations and Planned Parenthood centers. Just saying. So you're going to want to watch that video too to get more on that, but the STEM Express was a big deal. Other documents showed that top-level executives at Planned Parenthood's national headquarters were aware of the body part sales. Deborah Nicotola, an abortionist herself, admitted under oath that she knew Planned Parenthood Los Angeles was receiving payments for body parts, yet claimed she never bothered to ensure everything was taking place legally. Nicotola is the abortionist seen in CMP's first video discussing over wine and salad how she illegally altered abortion procedures to better harvest body parts. Yeah. Dr. Mary Gatter, who also was featured in the under oath testimony and was previously caught undercover haggling over prices for aborted body parts, infamously stating, "I want a Lamborghini." In her deposition, Gatter admitted to setting up a business arrangement with the now closed for-profit fetal tissue harvesting firm Novogenics. Okay, so this is a really big deal, and we've talked about this in great deal. I also want to remind you of this story from South Bend, Indiana, also September of 2019, where we saw this Dr. Ulrich George Klopfer, who had recently died, and then they raided his place a couple of times and found hundreds of fetal remains. They were being preserved and whatnot in some sort of like little side house that he had. It was really creepy. They went back twice and actually found things twice. This was out of South Bend. Now, another interesting story that I think kind of ties all of this together was a story from way back in 2012. This guy, Dr. Michael Berlin, former medical examiner, arrested for storing human body parts in a Florida storage unit. So a very similar thing, right? And this guy was 57 years old, charged with improper storage of hazardous waste, keeping a public nuisance, and driving with a suspended license. Okay, well, you would think that after getting busted for something like that, that seems like a pretty easy sentence. He was released on $10,000 bail. They let him off pretty easy, this guy, Michael Berkland. Well, maybe it's because that Dr. Michael Berkland is the same Dr. Michael Berkland who examined the body of one dead Lori Klausutis. Lori Klausutis was the intern who was working for then Congressman and now MSNBC host and husband to Mika Brzezinski over there at NBC, Joe Scarborough, or as Donald Trump likes to say, Psycho Joe Scarborough. Now, POTUS has been been going hard after Joe Scarborough as of late. And Mika Brzezinski has gone crazy on Twitter trying to get Jack Dorsey to ban him. Also, Klausutis' husband, Timothy, has written a letter over there to Twitter asking to delete Trump's tweets. So this is very curious because it seems like the only person sticking up for Lori is the POTUS. But it looks like Mika is in a panic, and so is Klausutis' husband. But this looks like a doozy of a connection, and it looks very, very relevant to what POTUS is talking about and to what Q is talking about. Now, the story is that Klausutis, who was like a marathon runner, she was an intern, young intern, and she evidently had set up an 8:30 meeting for Joe Scarborough, even though Scarborough claimed that he was out of town. Next thing you know, she was found slumped over near a desk inside his office, which was very curious. But this meeting evidently was supposed to be with Juanita Marie and Andreas Bergman. I want to say thanks to Carmen Sandiego, who emailed me this earlier. This is a company called Adrenomed, and as you can see, there is a very curious looking Mobius strip as a logo in the top left corner. Q has posted a curious looking Mobius strip before, but this is a privately financed clinical stage biopharmaceutical company with a clear mission: to rescue vascular integrity in order to save the lives of critically ill patients with limited treatment options. The company's lead product candidate is, I don't know how to say that, adrisizumab, a clinical stage first-in-class monoclonal antibody. Adrisizumab targets the vasoprotective peptide adrenomedulin, an essential regulator of vascular integrity to treat life-threatening conditions associated with increased vascular leakage, congestion, and shock. Okay, great. So this is based out of Berlin, Germany, and the reason why they sent this here is because their chief scientific officer is Dr. Andreas Bergman. Now, I'm not exactly sure if this is the same one or not, and that was the same thing that Carmen Sandiego was saying to me. They weren't really sure, but it seemed very curious, and I thought I'd share it with you. If you followed my channel for quite some time, you know why I would have an interest in a company known as Adrenomed, as it sounds a lot like adrenochrome, although it doesn't necessarily look like the same thing. But who knows what the connections are there, or if there are any at all. But thanks to Carmen Sandiego for sending me that. I wanted to pass that along, and of course that is an Andreas Bergman. I'm not so sure it's the same one, but I thought it was very, very curious, and it looks like it's very possible. Somebody may have already made these connections or not. I haven't had a chance to look yet, but I did want to offer it up to you in case you have, or in case you would like to look. So thanks to Carmen Sandiego for that. But I think the real connection as of now, the immediate connection, is this Dr. Michael Berkland, who seems to have some interesting connections and a very, very suspect past. Not to mention, it is immediately relevant to what Q just posted. Either way, Q says these people are sick, and sick they are. 43:25, 5 minutes after the hour at 10. There's that flag. There it is. What are you trying to tell us? What's in there? What are you trying to tell us? I know there's going to be about 100 people sending me videos about this thing, but it still doesn't really give me any answers. I know there's something in it. What? What's in it? D's, in coordination with domestic and foreign assets, have launched, as known, a full-scale insurgency attack against the people of the United States in an effort to regain power by any means necessary. All assets deployed. Current landscape: coordinated and deliberate events to impact, rig the presidential election. War. The future of our republic is at stake. Survival as a nation. We rise or we die. We the people. Yeah, well, indeed, folks, it is war, and I've been saying it for quite some time, and I think many of you already know that. It's real deal. And there's a lot of people that don't realize that it's war, but those who know that that's the case. And the fact of the matter is, if you go on social media, you are going to see a particular kind of landscape that is not very pretty at all. Now, that might be a lot different than how it is in your actual home, so it's important to get a good balance of all that. But definitely the battle has escalated, hasn't it? And I'm not really sure how it's going to turn out necessarily. All I know is to just keep going and keep doing the things that I know how to do, at least until I can't do it anymore. But that's what it is. It's war, folks, and that's what we need to do. We need to pull up our pants and put on our war face and bring our musket wipes. Post 4326, 6 minutes after the hour of 10. Q is responding to an Anon who says, "We're in for one hell of a show." And for those of you who are newer to reading these boards, this is essentially representing what we read on 8kun. This is Qmap.pub, but Q is responding to the post on 8kun, which is why you simply see this number here. And it's just acknowledging this post right here, like saying, "True that, my brother. even though it might have been a woman who posted that. I don't know. No offense if it was. Maybe it was a woman, all right? Maybe I should have said, true that, my sister. True that, my sister. All right? I'm not sexist. It just doesn't sound as comfortable coming out of my mouth. That's all. True that, buddy. Just going to sheepishly move over here to 4327, 53 minutes after the hour of 10. We get a link to the Washington Times. From May 21st, Australian researchers see virus design manipulation. A forthcoming Australian scientific study concludes that the coronavirus causing the global pandemic contains unique properties, suggesting it was manipulated in a Chinese laboratory and was not the result of a natural occurrence. Wait a minute. Are you trying to tell me? That this wet market, parkour, pangolin, bat, jumping, underwater airborne virus was made in a lab? You don't say. 5 scientists who conducted the study discovered an unusual ability of the SARS-CoV-2 virus, we call it the Rona, as the pathogen behind COVID-19 is called, to easily infect humans. The scientists said there's no sign so far that the virus can be found in other animals, including bats of the exotic wildlife sold for fresh meat at a market in the Chinese city of Wuhan, where the virus was first identified and where China maintains a major laboratory studying such viruses. Okay, so I think we kind of knew this, right? So let's see what they do think. The virus binding strength for human cells far exceeds similar properties for infecting other animals, he said in a statement on the forthcoming report. This, plus the fact that no corresponding virus has been found to exist in nature, leads to the possibility that the COVID-19 is a human-created virus, said Mr. Petrovsky, a professor at the College of Medicine and Public Health at Flinders University in Adelaide, Australia. It is therefore entirely plausible that the virus was created in the biosecurity facility in Wuhan by selection on cells expressing human ACE2, a laboratory that was known to be cultivating exotic bat coronaviruses at the time. Well, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Hua Chunying denied again this month that the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which houses China's high-security laboratory studying pathogens, was the source of the outbreak. The head of the Wuhan laboratory has also said she is convinced, after a review, that her lab played no role in the virus spread. Okay, so more he said, she said out of China. Well, the team was analyzing a spike protein binding of the virus on a range of other animals, including pangolins, civets, mice, hamsters, cats, dogs, snakes, horses, tigers, cows, the usual. Overall, the data indicates that SARS-CoV is uniquely adapted to infect humans, raising important questions as to whether it arose in nature by a rare chance event or whether its origins might lie elsewhere, the report said. Okay, so like I said, I think we already kind of suspected this. And if you've been following any kind of social media, or if you're getting inundated with media like I think most of us are, you'll see that over the last couple of weeks, we've been seeing from the BBC, from Reuters, from ABC, from CBS, MSNBC, all these different outlets are trying to say that it came from lemurs, it came from ferrets, it came from little puppy dogs, it came from rabbits, it came from bats, it came from all these different animals. It's almost like they're just trying to blame the animal kingdom and spread all this fear, saying that you're going to get it from all these different animals, and yet it's saying here that it's uniquely adapted to infect humans. So I think you understand, Patriots, the Rona was made for you and me, a special thing for us to share together. Hashtag we're all in this together, except I don't have it. Maybe you do. No offense if you do. We don't judge around here on this channel, okay? And we do know that it's a pretty serious thing. Some people have been getting this, and it sounds like it's some pretty severe pain for a little bit of time. But we also know that there are some what seem to be very simple treatments, and it seems like a lot of our experts are having a hard time deciding where this is coming from and how it is to be treated. And I suppose that's only for one aim, which is to keep you at home mailing in those ballots. But those are your Q posts for now. I do want to mention that the CDC has downgraded their numbers in regard to coronavirus numbers, and I think we all kind of suspected that too. It's not definitely the pandemic numbers that we were really expecting, right? But now that we've seen that kind of go down, it seems like we've had an uprise in all kinds of violent events, which leads me to one particular story that I'm not going to cover today, but I just wanted to touch on it and let you guys know that I was aware of it, and I will be digging into it when I get some time. There's been so many Q posts, I've just been kind of covering up with those stories. But the story about the fire in Pier 45 in San Francisco, very, very curious story, and so I want to let you know that I will be digging into it. And whether or not Q will touch on this story, I don't know, but if Q gives some time, I will try and get a little dig going in on that, because I'm very curious about a lot of things there, and I wanted to let you guys know that I was onto it, as many of you were too. So if you want to share me some information that you have, please email me with that story and let me know what you got. But those are your Q posts for now. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. You know what to do. All my alternate links are down below. If you got info, please email me. Please do not DM me on Twitter. My P.O. box is down below. My Patreon's down below. And that's all I got. This is Sir Patrick Mack. And until next time, don't get the Rona. Not that I'm judging if you do.